are actually quite low and the volumes are quite low. We don't really see a problem there, but if you beg to differ and there's a lot of speeding going on, I guess there are options we can look at to slow people down. I mean, we only saw an average speed about 21 miles an hour on both streets. The 85th percentile was 26, 27 miles an hour. The speed limit's 25. So, but like I said, if you have issues, there were a few people going very fast, but we can consider some of these techniques. They don't cost anything really. They're free to the property owners. If you want to consider, these are bump outs here. One of the reasons the street probably did have low speeds is because there is a lot of parking on the street. And I just wanted to highlight that we are going to have to narrow the street 6 inches, this much on each side, just to get past the trees, because modern paving equipment cannot go past these trees without a little bit of wiggle room. So, narrower streets have been proven to promote slower speeds, which also reduce the severity of crashes, reduce pedestrian crossing, create less stormwater. So no parking will be lost by slightly narrowing the street, but that will probably have the effect of slowing people down even more. But if you want to consider traffic circles or pinch points, bump outs, some of these things, I guess let me know, and we will look into that. There'll be several sustainability benefits on this project. All the gravel used will be 100% recycled. Recycled fly ash will be from coal plants would be used in the concrete as well to reduce the mining for new cement. New asphalt would be made with recycled asphalt as well, and then we would have new LED streetlights, which would reduce electricity by 66%. So this is what the new street would look like. It'll be a new concrete street with new curb and gutter, a new sidewalk, new driveways. Here's what the costs are. The pavement's $800,000, street lighting $100,000, sanitary sewer almost $600,000, storm sewer $400,000, water main $500,000. So it's a $2.5 million project for both streets together. This is how it's being paid for. Our citywide general fund is paying for 21% of it. We're getting a little bit of state funding, 5%. Special assessments that you all received letters about are paying 13%. The sanitary sewer is being paid for out of the citywide sanitary sewer fund, 23%. And then the stormwater is also a citywide fee that's on your water bill, that's 17%. And then the water bill is also a citywide fee, so that's paying for the water main, that's 21%. Here's a typical special assessment. If you have a 40-foot lot, the assessment rate is $59.25, so that's $2,370 for a 40-foot lot. If you have a driveway, then there'd be another charge, $7.40 per foot for the driveway. The bills for this would not be mailed out until March of 2020, not 2019, but 2020. So at that point, you would have the choice of a lump sum payment or a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. If you chose the 10-year plan, your first year in 2020 would be $332 for the whole year. And then the 10th year, it would be down to $246 for the whole year. Why do we special assess? Well, we've been special assessing for over 110 years. And in the old days, when those streets were originally built, the property owners actually paid 100% of the cost because, according to state law, they enjoyed a unique benefit from having this improvement in front of their house. Now, as you saw in this project, the city's collecting $320,000, which is about 13% of the total cost. And the assessment rate is $59.25 for all residential properties anywhere in the city. Doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter how wide your street is, doesn't matter how high the traffic volumes are, it doesn't matter what the actual bid prices are. Everyone in the city pays $59.25. Everyone is treated equally. And for over 110 years, Wisconsin state law has allowed for this, and there have been at least 100 court cases of significance on this law that have been upheld as being a fair and reasonable method to recoup the cost. So this method of recouping the cost has certainly stood the test of time. The reason we do it, though, is because special assessments are the only way to ensure that tax-exempt schools, churches, charities, hospitals, county parks, utilities, railroads all pay their fair share too. No one is exempt from special assessments, even though there are 430 properties in West Dallas that do not pay any property taxes. And many of these tax-exempt schools, churches, hospitals, and county parks are very large pieces of land. They actually encompass 28% of the total city land area, and they only contribute to the city's costs through special assessments. So, and in addition to that, businesses, corporations, manufacturers actually pay a higher assessment rate to ensure they contribute their fair share. So their assessment rate is not $59, they're paying $74 to $88 for the same road. So these are, like I said, the 28% of the city that doesn't pay taxes. These are the 430 parcels that are spread all over. Some of these are very large parks, but you know, we do special assess all these large tracts of land to make sure that everyone is paying their fair share. If we didn't special assess, then the tax burden would fall on everybody else. So we're trying to spread out the cost to everybody. This is a map, kind of the east end of town, that shows all the colored places show houses that have actually paid a special assessment in the last 10 years. So the different colors represent different years, but almost everyone on the east half of the city has paid a special assessment just in the last 10 years alone. And of course, if you go back 50 years, it's every parcel in the city has paid a special assessment. So everyone is paying their fair share. Why do we charge 4% interest? Because we borrow the money for this project, and we're paying 4% interest to the bondholders that are loaning us the money. So the city is merely passing along these interest charges that we're paying to the bondholders if you choose the 5 or 10-year payment plan. The city does not make a profit off that interest. There will be times when you won't be able to get in front of your house. So you may have to be parking on side streets during part of the time. On-street parking would be provided on neighboring streets. I think most people have alleys on this project, but on-street parking permits would not be needed. You can park anywhere within a couple blocks. The police will not ticket you. The police will actually keep an eye on your car. If you have a disabled sticker and need some sort of disabled parking, we can provide that on side streets as well for any of the people that have these stickers or license plates. So let us know. Here's the tentative schedule. This is all, of course, based on the weather, but we're hoping that We Energies can get in there actually in March and start putting in new gas mains, because the gas mains on your streets are actually very old as well. The city will be advertising for bids on March 13th. We'll be opening the bids on March 27th. We do have to hire the low bidder. The city does not get to pick the contractor. By state law, we have to take the low bidder. On April 1st, the council would award that low bidder the contract, and hopefully we would begin work by about April 22nd. Our hope is to get the work done by August 1st when the fair opens, so that we don't have traffic problems. The contractor would post a performance bond, which is really an insurance policy that they will finish the work. And if they miss that deadline, they would be assessed a penalty of $2,000 a day. So it would certainly behoove them to get it done on time. And then all the private property work that I was talking about, the water main, the lead service replacement, the sump pumps, the sanitary lining, that would actually be on a separate contract, because that's a separate type of worker. It's going to be more of a plumber that's going to be working in your basement rather than the type of guy that's working in the street. They're not typically a plumber. So that would be a separate contract that would start in September after the fair. You know, on the job that we have going right now, it only takes about 1 day to get the new lead service out and the copper one in. So it's very quick. The sump pump will probably take a few more days. The sanitary line would be a couple more days, but that's purely voluntary if you want to choose to do that. And at this point, I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels, for the presentation. We will first take comments or questions from the Common Council, and then we'll open up to comments and questions from the members of the audience. Are there any comments or questions from the members of the Common Council? All right, that was easy. Are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience? And if there are, we ask that you come up to the podium and please give us your name and your address for our official record.
Todd Poston, 1634 South 80th. Question, if a person elects a 10-year payoff of the assessment, is there any penalty for early repayment?
No, no penalty. You can pay it off anytime.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 1. And I will ask the clerk to read public hearing number 2.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for a proposed hotel to be located at 1010, 1040, 1126 South 70th Street.
Mr. Stiebel, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On South 70th Street, the city's working with Cobalt Partners to create a new vision for that street. Part of it's going to be the school board property being acquired and renovated, and on the east side of the street, this building being demolished. And as part of the redevelopment of the east side, and that's this long building here, will be constructed a hotel, and that's the subject of the public hearing this evening. On the west side here, on the west side here, they want to put a new facade on that building to kind of create a new, more dynamic vision for the neighborhood. And then on the east side here, we'll put this hotel and several new office buildings in that site. We'll demolish it effectively about 400,000 square feet and replacing it with over 300,000 square feet of office and a hotel. This is a Home to Suites is the hotel. This is which will be the front of the building, which is on the other side of South 70th Street. I'll get to it in a minute. Well, they actually come off South 70th Street, then come around, and then come into the hotel, because eventually the parking lot that's going to be on the east side of that will be a parking structure with offices on top. And this is the entrance feature here, and a swimming pool. Home to Suites is an extended stay hotel. It's not your typical hotel. It's for corporate tenants. They'll stay there for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, more of a longer time period. And this is the view that you'll see southbound from South 70th Street along here. And so it's going to be, we think, a very dynamic and good-looking building, a lot of brick, metal panels, stone, and I think it'll be a very attractive feature to the neighborhood. This will be the building here. This is Washington Street and South 70th Street. And there'll be an interim parking lot here, and then eventually that will be replaced with a parking structure with 3 floors of office on top of that, as well as some other additional parking. Stormwater will be over in this area here. It's a 5-story building, 128 rooms. That's the second here. There'll be also a door on South 70th Street for tenants or visitors to come and leave and walk downtown or walk around the neighborhood, which we'd really appreciate. And 168 parking stalls, as I mentioned, they'll be relocated from time to time. Eventually, they'll be relocated at the south while this office building and parking structure is built, and then a park will be developed there. There'll be a small gathering room. This is not a hotel for like wedding venues and stuff like that, so it's not a venue hotel, but it'll be for small meetings. And in there, there'll be also the fitness center and meeting rooms and indoor pool and that sort of stuff for the long-term extended service guests. There'll be a variety of types of bedrooms, from king suites to queen beds and the entire gamut, but eventually totaled 128. It'd be about a $14 million development. We have received no objections to date, and the Planning Commission's recommend approval. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any questions from the Common Council? Seeing none, are there any questions from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing no questions, We will close public hearing number 2. And I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 3.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for a proposed butcher shop, which includes converting the existing mixed-use building to commercial and expanding the existing building to be located at 2079 South 69th Street.
Mr. Stevel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Because this is going to be a butcher shop, it requires a special use, and that's the purpose of the public hearing this evening. Mark Lutz owns the building that West Allis Sausage across the street, owns a number of other buildings in that area, also acquired this property, which was in rather deteriorating state, and is going to be investing about $400,000 to create a new facility. Currently, the site is this building here that you just saw and the garage. That garage will be demolished, and this area will actually be dug up to be able to make this kind of a longer, bigger building with a green space along the edge there, and the dumpsters will be located in this area here. All of this will be demolished and renovated. This building here is about this area here, so all of this area here will be new for this butcher shop. And the hours of operation are your more typical Tuesday through Sunday type of operation. The architecture, asphalt shingles, shake siding, stone veneer, they're replacing all the windows, put metal awnings in. So it's going to be a marvelous addition to that neighborhood. The Plan Commission has reviewed this project, has recommended approval, and we've received no objections to date. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Common Council on public hearing number 3? Seeing none, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience on public hearing number 3? Okay, thank you. We will close public hearing number 3, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 4.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for the expansion of Tall Guy and a Grill, an existing catering business at 6733 West Lincoln Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Stevel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a story of a local entrepreneur becoming very successful, and we're quite delighted to talk about this. Tall Guy and a Grill came from a neighboring community, came to West Allis because what he liked about the city, and he's been here about 2 years. And there was a doctor's office next door when he bought the building, and the doctor is leaving, and so he wants to expand his business into that facility. So he'll have 4,800 square feet. Because it's a restaurant type of use, it requires a special use, and that's the purpose of the hearing this evening. The Tall Guy and a Grill runs 7 days a week and obviously caters a lot of facilities. Because it's an older traditional neighborhood, there's not very much parking in that neighborhood. There never has been any. There won't be any more as a result of this. There won't be any less as a result of this project. The Common Council previously approved a special use for this project, but now we have to amend it to allow provide for the expansion. The proposed area will be more for storage area, and they'll also have a new front door for showing customers what that they make and what they do. So there won't be much more manufacturer or restaurateur being in this operation in the newer area, but it'll continue in the existing area. This site is not the exact site, but that's the kind of siting that they want to have. They're going to replace the windows, repairing the soffits and fascia, particularly in this area here, and there'll be new sightings in this project. The Plan Commission has reviewed this. We've seen a couple of complaints or concerns, and we've worked them out, I think, with the owner of the property. One of the neighbors behind there is having a problem getting out of their garage if the truck drivers didn't pull their vehicles up close to the building. And the ownership has indicated they're taking care of that to make sure that they're respectful of their neighborhoods. If you have any additional questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stevel. Are there any questions from the council on this item? Seeing no questions, are there any questions or comments from the members of the audience on public hearing number 4? Seeing none, we will close our 4th public hearing, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 5.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for a proposed commercial parking lot to replace the existing building located at 9422-30 West National Avenue.
Mr. Steven.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a point of reference, for this evening, we will not be taking any action on this issue. We're going to ask the Common Council to hold the matter. We're still trying to get a handle on the ownership of this parking lot and some other technical issues. But we could go ahead with the public hearing. Effectively, what's going to be happening is this building here, which is pretty much vacant, will be demolished and that landmass will be turned into a parking lot. Some of the ownership is consistent with Heartbreakers, and with this parking lot being here, hopefully it'll take off the stress of the neighborhood of people parking up and down the neighborhood and get them more into this particular area. Because this is a commercial parking lot and not technically affiliated with Heartbreakers, it still requires a special use, and that's the purpose of this hearing this evening. On the site plan, this driveway here will be expanded from 10 feet to about 20 feet to allow ingress and egress. They'll also be allowed to drive through this parking lot to get in and out, but we're going to try to get people off the intersection, down the street, then making turning movements in there and not into the intersection. There'll be some substantial landscaping that'll be done in this project. There'll be a retaining wall placed on the north side with the 6-foot fence on top of that. I think the retaining wall is about 2 foot. There'll be a 6-foot fence along the eastern border, and get to this area in a moment, a very decorative fencing in that area. This is the decorative fence that'll be along National Avenue with brick and decorative metal, and this will be behind the landscaping screen. This will be National Avenue along here, and the parking lot will be a pedestrian-oriented parking lot. They would come out and then go down National Avenue. On the back of the building would be masonry landscaping for 2 foot, and then a board-on-board wooden fence, so it looks good on both sides of the neighbors. One of the issues, this is a rendering of what it would look like when it's completed. There'll be lighting on the top for security lighting onto the area, onto this parking lot. We have requirements as to how much luminous lighting can cross the property line, so all the light will stay on the property. The drainage of the property, there'll be a storm sewer intake valve here, so it's all the water will stay on the property. We've been advised that they don't plan on bringing any large vehicles in there, just single-family pedestrian motor vehicles. There was an issue with a concern with the dumpster located on the Heartbreakers property. This area, if they are going to move this dumpster, is going to require a special use amendment, and they'll have to come back to the city to review that. So even though they are showing this dumpster going to be here, I would seriously doubt the city would allow that to be located there. And it's probably going to remain down in here or over in here, and they're going to lose some additional parking, but we don't want the dumpsters next to the neighborhood. The Plan Commission has reviewed this and has recommended approval, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stiebel. Are there any comments or questions from the members of the Common Council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
John, does this land within our National Avenue corridor visioning that we're doing?
It's probably not the best thing that we could possibly have. It's a public policy decision on the part of the Common Council. There's an issue of there's a negative impact of the neighborhood on 95th Street having cars parked up and down their street in the evening, and is it a good public policy to get them off that area? Yes, that is. On the other hand, with a building being torn down, it's sort of a broken tooth kind of concept. We kind of hate to see that. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Right, and so you mentioned that Heartbreakers would likely have to come back for any modifications to their building, moving of dumpsters, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And would that allow us to perhaps dress up that eastern wall of the building?
Yes, it would.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the Common Council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Reinke.
Access to the parking lot is a concern I would have. National Avenue at that point is very, very, very busy. Is there thought given to only one direction that they, when they're exiting the lot, it would be a right turn only?
We looked at that issue because that's a very important problem.
Exactly.
Particularly today when they come into the intersection, they're taking a left-hand turn right in the middle. Very busy intersection. That's why, on the advice of the city engineer, we recommended that they widen the driveway here to allow ingress and egress so that we get them through the intersection and then start to make their turn to get them out of that busy intersection. So in a sense, it'll help that problem that you're talking about.
So there is, it sounds like when you're exiting, you can go across to make a left-hand turn?
Right now, we would allow them to do both.
Okay.
If it was the wish of the common council, they could have right turn only. But right now, we're recommending that they have right turn, left turn. Because it's far enough from the intersection that we normally allow that. But again, that's up to a policy decision of the council.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience?
Hi, my name is Linda Wishman, and we own the property to the north. And we've been there since 1977. So we've experienced quite a few different owners of Heartbreakers and that, and I would say we're the latest owners that we are not getting a whole lot of communication with. I mean, other than getting the information from the council that they were going to tear down the buildings and put up the parking lot, we never heard from them. So my concern is that going to continue? I mean, now we're going to have a fence that goes all the way across our property. And also I'm very concerned as far as where the property line is there. Because on their plan, they're showing the utility pole being behind the fence. And when I look at my property, that utility pole appears to be further to the north. And so there's going to be quite a bit of encroachment onto our property. The other concern I have is anybody who's visited that property, the, what do you want to say, the grading. The existing parking lot there is probably 4 feet at least higher than the proposed area for the new parking lot. So you're going to have a very big grade somewhere in there to get that all level, and I doubt if that's going to be level, because you have sewers, I think, in the upper parking lot, and I know there's sewers actually showing on that diagram where there's another manhole there too. So the water is going to cascade down that parking lot there and probably into the business next door. Also too, I'm concerned as far as how high that retaining wall is going to be. Right now there's a big jet out and it's a very nice retaining wall. If they're going to be bringing it back further north, we're going to have probably an erosion problem there. So big thing is communication. Also too, you're going to have, right now the small parking lot, there's not that many cars that park there. A lot of times it's their own employees, because we kind of know by the motor sounds at the end of closing of bar time who's leaving and who's been there. But you're going to have an open one, so I'm hoping they do some kind of security with working cameras to keep an eye on what's going on, because we know this kind of establishment doesn't necessarily bring the best into a neighborhood. Okay, that's it.
All right.
Like I said, I've written my concerns to Mr. Miller, so he does have a copy of some of the other concerns and that too. And also, our property, and I know probably part of the bar, that used to be a brick yard, and there are slabs of concrete all over the place. So if they try to grade the top parking lot down to a new existing parking lot, they're liable to come into slabs of concrete, some of which may indeed run under our property. So there is quite a few concerns here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody else have comments or questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, we will close our 5th public hearing, and I will ask our clerk to read public hearing number 6.
Resolution relative to determination of special use permit for Unico, a proposed entertainment venue to be located at 1900 South 60th Street.
Mr. Stevel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On South 60th Street, this building has been a number of things for a number of years, and has had a number of problems. And that's one of the things that we're going to be watching very closely, because we don't want to have another problems like we've had to spend lots of time trying to fix. Because it's been vacant for so long, I think it was a rehab center for a while, so for over a year, or it was vacant over a year, it's lost its current special use, and that's the purpose of the public hearing today, is to whether we should approve a additional special use. It's C3, and that requires a special use. The site, they plan on having live music and entertainment. They have 7 staff people. They're supposed to have security in the evening. They're also going to be offering dance lessons in the hall, and I'll get to that in a minute. And the hours of operation will be those allowed by state law. Unico would be the tavern here, about 1,700 square feet. The hall would be 3,400 square feet. And then there's a fairly good pizzeria, actually, that's there along with a garage, and it's all part of one project. The Plan Commission has reviewed this project and has recommended approval. And I just want to make note that because we have a special use on this project, if the noises are unbearable or they violate the law or whatever, we can revoke that special use, and that would close that establishment. So the special use is a good tool to be able to use to solve some of these noise problems or other complaints of loitering and that sort of thing. So we'll keep the owner of this property, or the manager, I should say, of this property under close scrutiny to see how this is going to be handled. If you have any additional questions, Mr. Mayor, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Stevel. Are there questions from the Common Council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May?
John, is the applicant aware that we are at quota for licenses? We don't have tavern licenses available?
I think they have, but I think they might, do they have one? They're being approved for one. I think it's in the process now.
A relocated license, okay, thank you.
I think we had
They
4, and
okayed
now
them.
we're down to about
Right.
0.
Subject to this. Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the council?
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Ranky?
Okay, it indicates on the resolution it's a proposed entertainment venue. What kind of entertainment are they speaking of?
They'll be having like weddings, if you want to rent the hall for a wedding, or bar mitzvah, or any party or whatever. That's kind of what they mean by an event venue. There'll be a tavern and the hall. Now, the tavern, when it's open, the hall will probably be open for dancing, or you could be able to rent the hall for whatever purpose, rent that venue for whatever you want to use it for.
That's where the entertainment would come in, and I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Barzak?
just to expand on that a little bit, when you go into the entertainment license, are you talking having bands and live music, DJs, Friday night, Saturday night, during the week?
That is my
All
understanding.
included in there too? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none from the council, are there any comments or questions from the members of the audience?
Hi, I'm Claudia Martirano. I own Burnham Bowl kitty corner from this place. Obviously, that corner's been, we've worked hard at trying to bring that back to not being ashamed to be there again. I guess I know a couple of the other business owners weren't able to make it here, but we'd like reassurance that we're not gonna have fights breaking out in the street again, that the cops aren't gonna call us the bad corner again, that the parking lots aren't gonna be trashed. They don't have parking there. And they're gonna use my parking lot.
They never have had parking there. But
Correct.
however, if they use private parking lots, private parking, they can be towed. And we've talked to the owner or the proposed operator about this, is that, you know, like Donette showcase, you can't just, your customers just can't go in there because people have the right to have those cars towed. So you better be doing street parking or pay attention.
Alrighty then. And they're gonna be able to be open regular bar hours, is what you said, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, I guess we can't do anything about it except wait and see then, huh?
That's the purpose of this public hearing.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions on this item? Seeing none, we will close public hearing number 6. And we will move on to item E, which is citizen participation. This will be the opportunity for residents to address the council on matters of interest to them. We ask that you keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes, as the timer indicates. And we tried to keep this portion of our agenda to 30 minutes. So is anybody here to address the council under citizen participation this evening? And again, please give us your name and address.
All right, I'm Steve Janachek. My address is 1220 South 122nd Street. All right, I'm here to address the same issues I've been addressing the last few times. Just basic freedom. There's no other way to put it. Clean air and clean water. Chemtrails, I've been talking about it every time I've been here. Planes in our sky spraying. Thursday, January 31st, just at lunch, in the gym, at work, 1 million chemtrails, just the most obvious thing. I pointed it out to some guy, never even heard of it, but it's just undeniable. If you get him on the right day at the right time, just plain as day. So I think we need to recognize the problem and we need to address it. Nobody seems to know it's a problem. Like I said, I pointed this out to somebody in the gym the other day, never even heard of it, no idea, first time anybody ever brought it up to them. You think it would be mainstream news? Well, it will be. Very soon, someday, they're gonna tell us, oh, we're spraying, you're welcome. And they might even send you the bill, then you guys might get concerned then. But for right now, I'm concerned. I'm concerned for my friends and family who all live in this city. They grew up in this city. To tell you the truth, I haven't been watching the skies. I don't think it's been like this my whole life, but I've been documenting it for 3 years now, and they're not stopping it. They're not hiding it. It's right there in front of us, and we need to address the issue. I don't consent to this. There's a growing number of people out there who see the problem. They have an idea what the problem is, and they don't consent to it. We don't accept it. We see it as blatant, downright oppression, tyranny, a slap in the face, whatever you want to call it. It's not acceptable. So, much like fluoride, I see them as the same problem, just we're being attacked through our air and through our water. And much like how fluoride was reduced in 2012, reducing this chemtrail problem is not acceptable. It's not going to be like, oh, we can have sunny days on Saturdays and Tuesdays, but then they're going to spray us on these other days. We have a right to sunshine. We have a right to clean air. The plants have a right to sunshine. The plants have a right to clean air. We need to start doing something about this problem. All right, and we just need to find some solutions. I'm going to keep working at it. It'd be great if we could find out who's in charge of our well-being. I know we're all in charge of our own well-being, but I'm here because you're elected officials. And when your next election comes up and all the other election comes up, this is going to be an issue. People are going to want to know your stance on chemtrails. They're going to want to know if you think it's crazy, or they're going to want to know if you have a brain in your head and you can look up and see a problem happening right before you. So we're going to keep, all right, that's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Janacek, I was going to just mention, I know you've been here a couple times now, and I hope you're also contacting your federal legislation because of the FAA and the federal, you know, that might be an appropriate contact to make as well.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great. I don't know which government agency to contact. Obviously, I'd assume it's a government issue, but...
Yeah, well, FAA is the Federal Aviation Administration, and that might be worthwhile contacting as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, we will close citizen participation. We will now announce our standing committees. Those will be meeting during our recess tonight. Those room numbers are listed on your agendas on page 2. Moving to item G, the mayor's report, just a couple of things. I want to once again thank the West Allis Women's Club for having us, or I should say allowing us to serve them lunch last Friday at Mountain Hope Lutheran on their annual celebrity luncheon. We wanted to happily serve them, to thank them for all the work and the volunteer work and the things they do for the city and the greater community. They're a very energetic bunch, and a lot of the council members, the fire chief, the police chief, we were all there to just give them a small token of thanks by serving them lasagna and spumoni. I want to thank the fire department and the health department for hosting the West Allis Youth Commission last evening. They had a really good 90-minute seminar breaking down all the mental health issues in our community and how they deal with them, what they're seeing, what the trends are. And I really appreciate them taking time out of their day to take questions from the youth commissioners and get them involved and hopefully motivate them to be more engaged and aware of the mental health issues that are in our society. I want to congratulate all the winners in the Shepherd Express Readers Poll from the West Allis restaurants and establishments that won. Our farmers market was once again rated the best farmers market. We've won that one several years in a row. I want to congratulate all those winners. And that does conclude the mayor's report. Do we have any alderpersons' reports this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel.
I just want to remind everybody that the city of West Allis is working on creating our first dog park on the west side of town, the old landfill site behind the police station, just east of Central High School. To that end, we had a community awareness meeting last night where we had got information from the engineering firm that's helping us out with it, helping staff. I want to thank Arcadis and the staff there, and also our public works staff that's already done a bunch of the work there. And as a reminder, we have a lot of fundraising to do to make this happen. So there's a meeting tomorrow here at City Hall. That's Wednesday, February 6th at 5 p.m. of the West Allis Community Improvement Foundation. So if you want to help us with the fundraising side of the new dog park, as well as hosting the community gala, the West Allis Community Improvement Foundation gala this spring. The dog park is the beneficiary of that dinner dance this year. So that's a huge fundraising opportunity for us on that. We're looking for people who want to help us organize that event. It'll be things like seeking donations, you know, planning the dinner, that kind of stuff. So there's a meeting here at 5 p.m. That event, and we've just announced the theme. The theme for the gala this year is Take Me Out to the Dog Park. The event is Saturday, April 27th, and we've narrowed it down to one of two locations. I think we'll have a decision on that this week, so look for an announcement on that. But so right now, save that date on your calendar, Saturday, April 27th, for the Take Me Out to the Dog Park dinner dance. Thank you.
And Alderman Weigel, you mean locations for the event, not locations for the park?
Yes, that's correct. We know where the dog park is. We're working on that already. It's city-owned land, which is actually pretty good for us. but the dinner dance itself is yet at a location to be determined.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May?
last week we had some pretty extreme weather with heavy snow, very cold weather, and I just want to send out a quick thank you to the Department of Public Works. Their management put together an excellent plan in getting our streets cleared, and I think our operators carried it out very efficiently. I can't, in the 7 years I've been an alderman, I can't remember getting calls of thanks and so few calls with complaints. And so thank you to DPW in a very stressful week getting that work done so well. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Barzak?
just so simple. I'm gonna ditto what he said, Public Works, phenomenal job, simple as that, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Neutmeyer?
I just want to send out a quick message here. The Fairview Park Neighborhood Association is having another neighborhood association meeting on the 21st of February at 6 p.m. and it will be at Benno's for anyone in the Fairview Park who wants to join.
You want to give us the boundaries of that just in case?
Actually, they're still working on the boundaries. We're
Okay.
looking to possibly extend it and include the businesses
Okay.
on Greenfield, but basically goes from 76 up to 70th and Greenfield to
City limits?
north city limits, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other reports from the alderpersons this evening?
Mayor Devine.
I hope somebody
I'd
from
like
that
to
side of the
echo
room
my
would say something. Yeah.
colleagues' comments regarding the wonderful job that our DPW people did. They were awesome. I can't remember when there was ever an occasion when I didn't get any complaints. And that's something for an alderperson, because we always get complaints from our people. But this year, I have to say, so far, I haven't had one complaint regarding our snow plowing. So kudos to the department.
Thank you. Any other alderpersons' comments?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick?
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council regular meeting of January 15th, 2019, and a special meeting of January 29th, 2019.
Second.
There's a motion with a second. Are there any adjustments to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item J, we have 0 items that were not reported to committee. And we have no standing committee reports under item K, so we go to item L.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move for, that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meetings.
Second.
Motion with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are in recess.
Felton. Come on up, have a seat. Do you need help with?
Hey, Marty.
Okay, taking over, place on 60th Street.
Yeah, the old remedy.
Now, my understanding in talking to Belmont is that, you're not gonna be serving food right away, or you're gonna be serving some food right away?
I'll be serving food right away. She just said if I want to do a health license, I would have to pay for another, if I do one in February, I have to pay for another one in June. If I wait till April, I get a whole 15 months after that, so.
Oh,
And that way, she's like, you might want to wait a month, or try to extend the closing as long as possible, and then get it in April. And then I got my food licensing for 15 months after that. So I would, if I get it in February, I would like to get the food going right away.
Yeah, of course, try to get money for it.
I mean, March, I'm sorry, March.
Yeah, we really haven't had a lot of problems with that place overall.
All right, good to know.
And so, anybody else have anything?
Mr. Chair? If you guys don't know, Brian's got experience in the business here from Tompkins. I think you guys probably all know that. Looking at your application, though, I think you didn't check some of the boxes that I thought maybe you might. You're not putting any amusement games?
Now, what does it mean by amusement games? Are you talking about like Buck Hunter and, that's what my curiosity was. Or was it involving the,
Well, the amusement games are the ones that usually say for amusement only.
all right. So I might have to go back to
You might
that
wanna
and
look
take
at
a check on
and-
that.
And take a look at that.
Yeah.
And I don't
I-
think you checked phonograph, although I see you
I
have a
sh-
jukebox app.
See, I
Yeah,
counseled the lady about that, and she said, she told me which one to check for
Okay,
that. And I said,
okay.
I'm paying a phonograph license and a jukebox.
And I don't think you ever did like, you're not gonna carry.
I'm not gonna be doing, I don't think I'll be doing karaoke.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this neighborhood will take me too.
Yeah, I mean, cause you can just check that box and then the options there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the kinds of things.
I debated about it,
Yeah,
and that's
no,
not kind of crowd I wanna go for.
You just might wanna revisit that application.
I will revisit it, yeah.
And I think his application did say that you'd be focusing more on food and less. on
Definitely
bar
food,
side.
less than bar. My hours will definitely be short, and it won't be a bar closed kind of place. It'll be more like, during the food service, like on the weekdays, probably 10 o'clock. Extend on the weekends, because people relax a little bit longer, maybe midnight,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna go to the 2 o'clock hour.
That was my only question.
Okay. Thanks, Marty.
Move approval subject to necessary requirements.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question.
Opposed?
Oh, I have a question.
Oh, sure.
How much longer would it take for the approval of the bar licensing? I know I'm probably about 3 to 4 weeks. It's about 5 weeks.
Well, we approved it just now, subject to necessary requirements.
Unless, just
Which
for
means
the
that
check
once the
boxes.
inspectors all come through and all that, check all the boxes.
All right. So, okay, good to
And
know.
it still has to go to the whole council
Mhm.
today, and they'll vote on it. It'll probably be 10 zip.
Okay.
And then, and if everything's already, inspections are all done already, you could pick it up as soon as the mayor signs it, I think, tomorrow, right? But you still have you haven't closed on the property.
I'm
or
not
anything.
closing, they're just pressuring me on the close, so I was just curious, like, the due process after this happens, pretty much what I'm asking.
This was the approval here.
Yeah, the approval's here, so ready to go next, all right, gotcha. All right,
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next one we have on our agenda.
Good luck.
thank you,
Yeah, good luck.
thank you.
The Good Land, great name, Milwaukee.
The good land?
You get it?
The Good Land, yeah, I get it, yep.
Okay, Paul S. Thompson. Now, you're coming instead of him, right?
I'm Paul today.
Well, okay, Paul's gonna be the,
Paul is the agent.
he's gonna be the agent, but he could not be here
Is
today.
this for the pizza joint?
This is for Blaze.
Blaze Pizza, yes.
And they're trying to get this moving along quickly, so Anna called me and asked, is it okay, what's your title there?
I'm part owner and I'm also day-to-day. I'm director of operations.
And so, yes, it's okay if he comes in, and so I said yes, simply because they wanna get this moving faster.
And tell us your name, please, sir.
John Kovacs, JOHN KOVACS. Thank you for allowing me to be here in his place.
Mr. Chair, this application's for a beer and wine, a B beer and a C wine only? Did I read that correctly?
That is correct.
Wait,
Alderman Weigel, wait. Alderman Weigel. This is for beer, a B beer and a C wine, is that correct? And, and we have unlimited C wine licenses, but we're at quota already on B beers? No.
Mr. Chair?
Steve.
No, we are at quota, and Blaze would have to exceed the quota. So tonight, you're gonna be deciding whether or not we should move forward with the public hearing.
Okay.
So, yeah, Mr. Chair, I have a question. Oh, but maybe
I'm sorry.
Alderman Rote was
Alderman
first. I forgot
No,
about
that
that.
was my, because we are at quota for the beer and
Right.
the wine is unlimited. So we'll be voting on what? On going
Yes.
over the limit
Yes.
for number,
It's number 40, 41.
41 and 42.
On the agenda. 41 being the beer and 42 is the wine, so Alderman High.
Yeah, and so how many other Blaze Pizza locations are there nationwide?
Nationwide, there's
Yeah.
312,
How many of them, roughly, I don't know, they have beer and wine or serve beer?
over 90%.
90%?
Yeah.
That's
yeah. And
something that you do as part of your business plan?
Correct. It's more of a thing to go with it as opposed to like an entity by itself. So it's just kind of a nice thing to have, I guess would be my best explanation. I have it in the other 4 restaurants here in Wisconsin. So,
Yeah. Where are those other 4 restaurants in Wisconsin?
Mount Pleasant, down by UWM, Oakland and Locust, Brookfield, Bayshore Mall, and West Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mr. Chair, given the type of establishment that this is, an improvement to the neighborhood, to our commercial corridor, I would be in favor of exceeding our quota for the Class B beer.
Sure, I got a little clarification on the quota part. They did contact us, I don't know if you talked to Ann or not, but because we don't have a quota on C, they would be willing to go ahead with the wine portion. So if you're willing to approve the license for the Class C wine tonight, that'll be fine. As far as the B, all you're doing tonight is voting to proceed with the public hearing. You're kind of giving a soft approval at this point, but you're not taking formal action on it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Steve. And so, yeah, with that, I would be in favor of proceeding with the public hearing on the B.
Okay, so we don't really have a vote on the jacket then?
41.
Correct.
41, okay.
I'll second Alderman Haas's proposal.
I don't think we need to go. Oh,
we got something on file, don't we, or hold, 41?
It'll be hold.
we don't have to vote on hold.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. Were we gonna revisit our criteria for going over quota? Because honestly, I think right now, the criteria we have, I don't think this location will qualify for the current criteria that we have for going over.
Currently, you don't have.
Oh, I thought we had it.
Yeah,
Did
we
we get rid of
have
it?
it.
We did get rid of it. Oh, we did get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm showing my.
Yeah, that's right. And Mr. Chair, I think what you're thinking of is sort of the verbal one that we have, which is to bring sort of economic development to the area. And I think what the gentleman and business have done with the business that was there previously, I think would qualify.
I think we should have beer at our changing.
It was a tire place, so
that's where that comes from. That's why you
keep
said
the
that.
keep it alive.
So we're good with both.
Okay, so we're gonna hold that one for the public hearing, but number 42 is for the.
Move approval on 42.
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Time frame on opening?
March 11th.
Is approval subject to necessary requirements?
Correct.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Got your wine.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And when will we know anything on the beer part?
Well, it's like 30 days, right?
30 days? Okay.
Yeah, we can get moving on getting the public hearing scheduled for the next meeting, March 5th.
March 5th. Okay.
And
Okay.
it could be approved that night?
Well, get back to me tomorrow on it.
Don't order any beer yet.
Oh, that's cool. No, I'm not. I just wanted to see if I'm gonna have it for opening or if I'm not.
Yeah, I just wanted
that.
line
Okay.
up all the timings.
Got it. No problem.
When is your opening?
March 11th.
As I say, and if there's a 30-day there's 28 days in February, so March 5th, or March 5th would be 28.
Well, it has to be acted on by us, so, after the hearing.
I just want to make sure that there's periods with
Publication.
publication.
That's what I mean.
Mailing out to the
That's
citizens.
kind of my
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
There's a 30-day, we may not make it.
7 days. for
It's 7 days?
publication, but 10 days to mail out to.
We'll call you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
You
So
call him.
do I need to hang around, or
No,
am
no,
I,
no.
I'm good? Okay, thank you, appreciate it. See you all soon.
Then we have number 43, it's a communication from the Assistant City Attorney. This DNF Auto Group, I guess, is not gonna be renewing their lease. So the landlord just wanted us to, it's just a communication, so kind of, let us know so you can, so somebody else can apply for the license.
Do you want me to get Kale?
Yeah, if you could. Okay, well, while we're getting him, let's just do, item number 34, these are various licenses.
Move approval subject to necessary requirements.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 35 is for a special event for O'Connor's Perfect Pint.
Move approval. Second.
Is there any further discussion? 8 AM to 11 PM.
Yeah, I think we,
Sunday and the 17th till 9.
Well, it's 11 PM on a Saturday and 9 PM on a Sunday.
Right.
yeah, and 11 PM for the
Sunday's on the
outdoor, I
same
think
line.
our noise ordinance would trump whatever we approve anyway. So our noise ordinance would require them at 10 o'clock to quiet down.
Right.
Whether we approve it at 11 o'clock or not,
Right.
right?
They
I think
could
you're right.
be out there,
Usually
they could
we
be out there
push for the
finishing
10.
up their beers.
Well,
Right.
The band
Maybe
stops.
we should pen in there and then there's no confusion.
Did we do that? I think we did that last year, 10 o'clock.
Right.
Did we
Well,
go
I
to 10?
As long as the band go till
11.
10.
And clean up after.
Yeah, let the band go till 10. As long as they understand that.
So the motion was made by you're saying keep the 11 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. And you second the motion.
I did, and I'll keep my second. Again,
Right.
our noise ordinance trumps anyway, so if they're gonna have an outdoor
Right.
band, they have to keep it
Okay, if there's too
non-audible
much-
over a property line, which means they're not gonna be able to have a band past 10 anyway,
Right.
so.
Can we
Okay.
put a Post-it note on there for when they pick up the license, Steve? That says,
Yes. Remind them.
band cuts off at, live, music stops at 10.
To the noise ordinance.
Per noise.
The event
Right.
is still 11.
But the noise
Right.
ordinance stops.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, any further discussion? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We're going back to number 43. Just come in. Communication is just, explain.
So, Assistant City Attorney Serwin was the one who actually filed the communication with the committee, basically let him know that he received information from the owner of this property at 5730 West Lincoln that the lease for the car dealer was not going to be renewed, which means that, I guess it was supposed to be February 1. So the issue is going to be just letting the committee know that this is something coming down the pike, and if there's an interest in, the license itself should be surrendered. Really would be the proper way to do it for the owner, because by surrendering it, they are just simply handing it over. But if necessary, the city could theoretically revoke this license because they have no occupancy, they have no legal right to occupy the property any longer. So the goal was to communicate this with the occupant or former occupant and allow them to surrender the license. But
That's a clean way if he surrenders the license. If he doesn't, then we can take it away.
plus, then he has the extra penalty of not being able to apply for another license for a year
Right.
if revoked.
And the license goes till the end of June?
Sometime middle of the year, I believe it was supposed to go to.
Mr. Chair,
All in
if I could suggest that the city attorney's office draft a letter, send it to them, say, hey, not in compliance, urge you to. Our ordinance says you should surrender.
You can lay it out very specifically for the occupant and let them know that the next step would be to seek to revoke it, which would be it would likely be a contested hearing where someone in our office would be the complainant, and there'd be a quasi-judicial hearing before a committee of this body.
Move to place on file.
Second.
It's fine to place on file because a new summons complaint would have to be filed as a new item anyway.
Okay.
That's fine.
Who's second? Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have number 36. This is, applicant transferring license to premise, State Fair Liquor and Food. Doing business, State Fair Liquor and Food Mart, from 1568 South 81st to 9127 West Lincoln.
That's the old White Hen Pantry location. Move approval.
Second.
Get that liquor
Subject,
store out of the
subject to,
subject to necessary requirements.
Mr. Chair.
okay, Alderman Begley, second.
My question on that is, I know when someone applies for a Class A or other license, we require them to go through a full special use permit in order to have that license.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
That will be one of the necessary requirements of this, correct? Yep, this should, I think, absolutely be part of the recommendation.
Mr. Chair, remind me on the Class A quotas now, too.
It's a transfer.
Well, I understand that, but now I have a building on 81st in Lapham that was a liquor store. Did somebody put a liquor store in there now? Yeah, I mean, because
We'd have to go a quota.
we're back at our Class A quota currently.
Well, we're quoted with everything, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
We're quoted with everything, so. Yeah, somebody would have to come in and apply. And so, when they do something like this, and we run into the past where the owner of the building or the landlord, you know, I think they may be affiliated, but doesn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know anything about it. Next thing he knows, he's got a building.
Margarita Paradise.
Margarita Paradise, one on 60th Street did happen.
Yeah.
So, which technically is not of our concern.
All good.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair,
Hold on a minute.
wouldn't we also need to see a floor plan and a layout and all that other stuff go with it?
There's a lot of stuff in here, but it's just, I don't know if it's the.
So at this point, I'd say we'd hold it. I don't know why we don't do our licenses at the same time as we do our special use.
I think this is assuring the applicant that we would allow this transfer to happen, and this gives him a level of assurance to maybe secure the, either lease or purchase of the building on 91st and Lincoln. I'm pretty sure that's why we do it this way. Is that correct?
They didn't indicate that. That's one possibility, sure. You could also hold it until they are in discussion with the development department about a special use permit, so you want to, you could hold it for that discussion as well.
Did it the opposite in Milwaukee.
What would you do in Milwaukee?
We
You
would
had your
make them
special use
do the
permit
special
before you do
use
liquor,
first, and
which
then
to me makes more
they
sense.
would get the license, then they'd go through the license process.
But yeah.
Because the licenses have quotas, special use doesn't have.
But applying for a special use costs more money. You gotta post for the public hearing.
Well,
And you want to get in line also for quota purposes?
Yeah.
Well, if we held this, they'd be in line.
You just don't schedule.
There we go.
They apply at the same time. That one just goes first, and then the other one goes. Because right now we're having the complication of the opposite way, right? Tonight.
Well, and the special use is gonna trigger site and landscape for that address, because it's been empty long enough. And the expenses connected to that may be onerous enough that they may decide not to go forward with the project.
And here's another good reason to either do it the opposite or do them at the same time, as Alderman May suggested, is once we grant a license, they have a property right to that license. And now, if we say no on the special use, that gives the property owner, the applicant, more rights, or better right to sue us if they want to.
But we're saying subject to necessary requirements.
Yeah, well.
If they don't get a special use, they violate the necessary requirement.
That's a
Because
good
they
point.
haven't technically
That's
done
true,
it.
but that's something we'd have to be telling them.
So that takes away our thing. So, well, we have a motion and a second.
And the motion was to
approve. To approve.
So I
subject to necessary requirements.
Subject to necessary requirements.
And special use being one of them.
Yes.
further discussion?
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
I just want to talk about it at our staff, because when businesses come, they often want to know if I can get the license.
Yeah.
Nothing else matters unless I get that license. And it factors into their business performance, their financing and everything like that. The special use side of it, I mean, they kind of know that because they did some homework on the site. I mean, those are easy numbers to estimate. The license, it could kill a whole business.
Do you know for a fact that this applicant knows that he's facing site landscape and it could be
I think so.
tens of
I
thousands
think
of dollars of site improvements?
Steve mentioned that my name to him for a facade grant. So, I mean, it's a property that's where Big Eve's was.
Yeah.
And,
The other reason to do the special use permit before is now we're committing this license to this individual, and they might be
6 months.
6 months before they come through with a special use permit, but someone else is ready to go, coming in with full plans.
Well, but the thing about we're transferring.
And I
this
understand,
license.
I understand it's a
It
transfer.
already is somebody's license.
So
But
it's
why is the other business transferring it? Because they don't want it anymore? If they're not using it, they would hypothetically should be surrendering it, they're not using it anyway.
Well, they could sell.
He sold it.
We
He
can't
sold-
sell license,
They didn't
we
sell
can sell
it.
business,
Transfer various
which is probably what we're doing here.
Yes.
Well, if it's a new applicant, they'd have to go through the entire original application process as a new applicant. The only thing that's changing on this is location.
It's the same owner.
Yes.
Yes, he's moving from his 81st Street location to the 91st in Lincoln.
Same owner, same agent. There would be a separate change of agent process and form as well. Never doing that.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Just making our reporting more difficult.
Force a
That-
discussion.
That's it?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
All right, and the Administration and Finance Committee will come to order. All 5 members are present. Item 8, resolution establishing the 2019 sanitary sewer charges for the MMSD portion.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion from Alderman May, a second from Alderman Weigel. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 9, resolution approving rescission refund of property taxes.
Move approval.
Motion from Alderman May.
Second.
Second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 10, resolution to approve the commercial facade improvement project contract for $20,000.
That's just so I have.
Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Mr. Chair.
I have a motion from Alderman Weigel
Second.
and a second from Alderman May. Alderman Rowe.
DPN.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please,
That's
Patrick.
just what a lot of people do when they buy a property, they set up a separate LLC for the real estate holding, and then DPN is leases the space to Tall Guy and a Grill.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so that property,
Because I could find it, no.
yes. Well, you should be able to find it under the property address that has the ownership of that property. When
And
we
there's a
gave
big
the
tax
economic
fee.
development loan, we gave it to DPN Enterprises to buy the property. So the property was bought a little over 2 years ago for like $203,000, and today it's over $400,000 in value. And when we originally talked with him, he was wanting to get his commercial kitchen. That's the owner of Dan Novak, Tall Guy and a Grill. And he's invested in the kitchen and doubled the value of that property. And this is, at that time when we were talking, there were glass block windows in the front of the building that where a doctor's office was. They had one half of the building was a doctor's office. Catering business is expanding to the balance of the property. And this was an early discussion when we first met him, when he was looking to move the business here to West Dallas. We said we'd help with the facade. So this is fixing the fascia, putting new windows in, fixing the signage on the front, and make a nice appearance along Lincoln Avenue.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And item 11, resolution relative to authorizing single source purchase for a police canine.
For approval.
Motion from Alderman Chaplesky, second from Alderman May. Any discussion?
It says and handler.
Yeah, we're gonna buy the handler also. We're not gonna buy the
Is the
handler.
handler a
I'm pretty
piece
sure
of
it's handling
equipment?
services.
The handler is the
Is it a piece
cost.
of equipment?
It's training. It's training.
That's a deal then. If we're
Yeah.
getting a
We
sworn
should buy
officer
more
for-
of
We're getting a
those.
sworn officer thrown
Pretty
in.
sure that's illegal.
Yeah, we fought a war over that. That's slavery.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No, we don't have a motion. Yeah, we do have a motion and a second.
Yes.
It is Southern Police.
Yeah, there you go. All in favor, say aye.
I
All and opposed, ayes have it. Item 12, resolution authorizing the mayor to partner with Savage Solutions.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Alderman Weigel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Alderman May. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
I'll just ask that when we do the wayfinding signage and everything, that the engineering department is looped in because there are federal standards on the way wayfinding works along public streets.
Very good. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And item 13, communication from city administrator to fill a vacant
For
position.
approval.
Thank you, Alderman Chaplesky. And is there a second?
Second.
Second
Second.
from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 14, another.
Approval.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item, we don't have a
15.
yeah, thank you. I grabbed it. Item 15, communication from city administrator regarding traffic violation accident reports. Thank you.
Second.
Motion from Alderman Rote, second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And then item 16 is to be placed on file.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Alderman Weigel, a second from Alderman May. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Anything further to properly come before the committee?
Will we adjourn?
A motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Caesar Romero play the Joker?
Yeah, he
Having
did.
a meeting on Monday at 6 o'clock.
Oh, now you tell us.
Yes.
Monday's date night. Oh.
It's for the
I see what he's saying.
interview for the
We will call the Common Council back to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Ranky.
Here.
Rote. Here. Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
Barzak. Here. Shaplesky. Here. Oitmeyer.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
And May.
Here.
That's 10 present.
We have a quorum. We will start with the Administration and Finance Committee. Alderman Haas.
The Administration and Finance Committee met and acted on the following items. Items 8 through 14 were all approved or adopted, and 15 and 16 were placed on file. That's the Administration and Finance report. I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion with a second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. I almost did a roll call, then I almost called you Monica. Sorry. We'll get there.
Alderman Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Oitmeyer.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor Devine.
Thank you. Let's get smoother from here. Public Works Committee, Alderman Barzak.
Mayor Devine.
I would like to bring your attention to items number 17 through 22 on tonight's agenda. All were resolutions adopted by the committee. I move for adoption of the committee's report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Oitmeyer.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
10 yeses.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine, that is all much smoother.
Much smoother. It's all in the leadership, Alderman Barzak. Safety and Development Committee, Alderman Lysick.
Mayor Devine, I call your attention to items 23 through 29 on your agenda. Various resolutions and communications. Resolutions for approval, communication be placed on file, acted upon favorably by all 5 members of the committee. I move for adoption of the committee report on those
Second.
items.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Oitmeyer.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. License and Health Committee, Alderman Chaplin.
I'd like to report on items number 34, 35, 40, 42, and 43. These are voted to approve, subject to necessary requirements, or to place on file by all 5 members. I'd like to move for the adoption of this part of the committee's report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Then we have item number 36. This is transferring a license. It was voted for approval subject to necessary requirements by 4 members. I'd like to move for the adoption of the rest of the committee's report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
I'm not necessarily against this property receiving a license. However, I do think that we should be determining whether a property's, whether the use is proper, either at the same time or before we grant a license. What we're doing here is we're granting a license without even making a determination of if a tavern is proper use in the area. And that's why I voted against it. We should be doing the two either together or determining it's a good use for the area before doing the license.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor. Point for clarification, this is not a tavern, this is a liquor store.
Liquor stores as well.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
No.
Shaplesky.
Aye.
Oitmeyer.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
No.
That's 8 yeses and 2 noes.
Motion carries. Next up is the Advisory Committee. Alderperson Reinke.
Mayor Devine. direct the council's attention to items number 44 through number 48 on tonight's agenda. 1 ordinance, 2 resolutions, 1 appointment, and 2 reappointments that were favorably approved. I move for their approval, Mayor Devine.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
Barzak.
Aye.
Shaplewski.
Aye.
Whitener.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
And May.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
That is all, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we adjourn until our next meeting, Monday, February 18th at 7 PM.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.